The men were stunned. They thought they were asleep for a few hours. They were actually asleep for around 300 years. The Cave of Seven Sleepers, or the Grotto of Seven Sleepers. Behind me, next to Ephesus in Turkey, is to Christianity the location of the Seven Sleepers, and also Islam is possibly the location there as well. Although Islam also says possibly Jordan, Yemen, even China, to name a few locations. Christianity, though, more likely assumes this is the location of the Seven Sleepers. Now, what's the legend of the Seven Sleepers? Basically, from 249 to 251 AD, Decius, Roman emperor of Ephesus, nearby, only maybe a mile, if that, started persecuting Christians. And these 7 people hid in this cave. They apparently gave all their wealth to the poor and came over here about half a mile away from Ephesus, a huge Roman city at the time. And since Decius the emperor was persecuting Christians, this is the Christian version, obviously, he either banned them or they hid. Some say they banned him in a sealed cave, which is directly behind me. And some say that that the 7 individuals, the Christian individuals, to avoid persecution, hid themselves in the cave. The Islam version, they have a dog. Sometimes there's 6, sometimes there's 7 people. And they sealed the cave and they went to sleep. Well, they woke up, what they thought was a few hours later, and they were hungry. So they got a volunteer, one of the 7 or 6 men, to go back to Ephesus in fear of persecution and hiding and buy some bread. Well, when he arrived there, he tried to buy some bread, but he noticed crosses everywhere. And this was confusing to him because obviously Christians were persecuted during what he thought was, 249, 251, AD. So then he tried to use coins, and these coins have Emperor Decius's picture on them. Well, the baker was stunned because those coins haven't been around for 300 years. Apparently they were asleep for 300 years, as the legend tells. So at the baker's, there was uproar because of these coins. So they grabbed the bishop. Ephesus was now a Christian city, basically, where there was crosses everywhere. And so they brought this man to the bishop, the head bishop, whoever was in charge during that time, and he explained his story. And well, they believed it. They went back to the cave that's up this little hill here, and they investigated, and they believed it was almost like a resurrection. The men were stunned. They thought they were asleep for a few hours. They were actually asleep for around 300 years. So therefore, this became kind of like a holy site. They built a church on it, and after it being discovered, they found multiple tombs all throughout here. And the story's also in the Quran. Now, the Quran's version is a little different. They had a dog who slept on the outside, and they sealed themselves in, and there were 6 people instead of 7. 7, obviously an important number in Christianity. Not sure about Islam. Correct me if you know. But maybe 6 is an important number. But yeah, same story. And they hid from persecution, and they don't know if they were thrown there. Some say the Emperor Decius put them there and sealed it. And then when a farmer or something tried to open or to build near it, so he opened the seal and was stunned that there were 7 dudes there just laying around alive. And well, the rest is legend, I guess. Decius, probably pronouncing that wrong, the Roman emperor at the time, pagan city Ephesus, located nearby, well, he wanted them apparently to denounce their Christian faith. He found out they were Christian, wanted to denounce it. Wanted him to give, even some stories say, a sacrifice to a temple. And obviously they refused. So they gave away all their wealth, as I said before, and they found this cave and they went inside to pray. And during prayer, they fell to a deep sleep. Maybe it was meditation. Obviously, they say prayer. I think prayer is a form of meditation. And they they awoke 250 years later, 300 years later. It's pretty interesting stuff. Now, if you're in or near Ephesus, the ruins of Ephesus near in Turkey, and you visit Tomb or the Cave of Seven Sleepers, it's all very close drive. Don't forget to like take these trails past. They kind of go into what looks like a farm with some olive trees. Keep going, and there's these huge, massive caves and grottos and stuff like that. Very cool, and I think most people miss this. So, you know, be sure to check that out and you know, eat some food before I didn't eat, and I might be the 8th sleeper because I'm getting kind of tired. But I'd wake up 300 years later. Why not? After this story got popular for hundreds, like 400 years, missionaries and people of the faith would come here, and a lot of them want to be buried here, and they even apparently built a church on top of this place years later. And when they discovered this place and found it, they found tons of tombs to kind of prove there was probably a huge church here. It's also close to the Church of Mary, which is, and the House of Mary, which is the Church of Mary is right next to Ephesus, which again is a big city near here. That was the pagan city they fled, and a possible house where Mary kind of settled is near here as well. In the Islamic version, which it's in the Quran, so most Muslims know about this story. I grew up Christian. I'm not really Christian now, but I never heard of this story, so apparently Muslims all know about it since it's in the Quran. It's pretty well known throughout the Islam world. Their version, I guess, you know, I heard 6. I heard some people don't know the number, only Allah knew. They had a dog with them, though, that guarded the outside. I thought that was very interesting. More Christians believe it's here next to Ephesus in Turkey. I think Islam and Muslims think it's probably more than likely somewhere else, but this is still a location they assume it could be. So you'll see both Christian and Muslim people here looking at this site. In Islam, they also believe they slept for 300 years or like 309 solar years. So just different variations in Christianity and Islam. Another thing interesting is that you know, this was 200-300 years after Jesus died. So the resurrection of Jesus, he was in a tomb, a sealed tomb, and then he awoke after 3 days. They were in there for, you know, I don't know, 300 years, give or take 250, 309 solar years, depending who you ask. It's kind of interesting, the similarities between Jesus' resurrection and the 7 sleepers, 300 years apart. It's almost as if Ephesus, it went pagan to Christian, you know, Greek, Roman, and eventually Christian. It's interesting that, you know, 300 years later, they kind of were still connected to the resurrection of Jesus. So very interesting similarities there. Now there's these, there's this prayer tree, I guess, but these, there's a bunch of mass, so I'm guessing they're like COVID prayers, but I think before that, they just would tie a piece of paper and have a prayer. And I think that's here at the tombs, and then also, or the caves, grotto of the 7 sleepers, and also is Mary's house. Now, you can't actually enter inside. They have these barbed wires everywhere. They have camera towers everywhere. Here, I can show you. Whoop, right there. I mean, they're all over this place. Ephesus, I'm assuming Mary's house here. Basically the perimeter of the whole area. I tried to fly my drone. I couldn't get connection. I think it's a restricted area, or you got to get authorization. So that was a bummer. I was hoping to kind of sink down a little bit and kind of get a better view, or a sky view. You know, I don't know why they wouldn't let me, but I'd love to see what it looks like from the aerial view. You can still see some of the plaster as you enter the gate. You'll miss it. I just, you know, for the 3rd time walking in here, I caught it. So when you first come up to the cave of the 7 sleepers, you're gonna come up the small cave first, and then the trails kind of go right to that cave, and that's where you see the church and the catacombs and stuff like that, and the big grotto. But if you go left, there's a little trail. I barely noticed it. Looked like a goat trail or farmer trail. And if you go there, it kind of leads straight up, and you kind of go on top into this section. I don't know if we're supposed to be up here. There's a trail, so I figured, but basically this is some ruins, and you can see around over here there's some, I'm guessing, grave sites. There's holes. It looks like I'm on the other side of the fence, so I'm probably gonna head back now because I don't think I'm supposed to be up here. I don't know.